Mike Gibson, Kenneth Rosenfield coming to you live from SCAI 2017, talking about the Pulmonary Embolism Response Team, or PERT. Kenny, you have really spearheaded this effort. I think it's really changed the care of pulmonary embolism patients. Tell us a little bit about its origins, where you are, and where you're going with it.
Thanks, Michael. This is an incredible entity, initiative. It's probably one of the most fun things I've ever done in my life, and in my career. And I've been in practice a lot of years. For what it's worth, I won't tell you how many.
Yeah.
But about 4 or 5 years ago, we started this thing at Mass General Hospital, realizing that so many people were being treated. There's a huge variation in the way people were managed with pulmonary embolism. And we said there's got to be a better way. There's a lack of data about how to manage these patients best and to get the best results and optimize outcomes. So we said, well, the best way that I know of, is a team-based approach. Much like I think we predated the heart teams, or maybe we were around the same time. So we coalesced multiple specialties who are all involved with pulmonary embolism, hung up a bunch of posters, and all of a sudden the phone started ringing off the hook. For acute pulmonary embolism, how do you manage it? Team-based approach seems like the best way.
Right.
And we put our minds together, and we actually do a go-to-meeting for each of these very sick patients.
Yeah, amazing. That is amazing.
It's a challenge, but
including one of the representatives, perhaps from the patient's family.
We can. I mean, we've done that on numerous occasions. We've included a family member or actually the patient themselves.
Yes.
There's an infamous example of a leader at one of the universities in one of the states nearby who was admitted with a pulmonary embolism that had been unrecognized, which is another huge problem.
Yeah.
So, you talk about management, but there's also the recognition of PE in the first place. This person had gone on for months without having the PE recognized and seen cardiology as well.
Oh boy.
A good cardiologist.
Oh boy.
Who actually used to be in Boston, all kinds of people.
Yeah.
So when this person got on the phone to do a PERT consult from a remote area, because this person was friends with Drew Faust from Harvard.
Oh boy.
And Drew roped us in on the PERT group, and then we had this remote PERT call.
Right.
And this person got on the phone and decided what therapy they wanted.
Well, that's where we're at.
It's the ultimate in patient engagement.
Patient engagement and patient-centered
shared decision-making, right.
Decision-making.
Shared decision-making. So anyway, but we very soon thereafter, as you know this story, but we started talking about this or at meetings like SCAI meeting, and people were coming up and saying, what are you doing? This is very cool. We wrote a couple of preliminary articles about it, editorial in Chest and a few other letters to the editor. And all of a sudden we got calls, ringing off the hook from other places saying, we'd like to do this. And I recognized early on with my colleagues at MGH that this is an opportunity to fill a huge gap in our evidence base about pulmonary embolism. If we can assemble a consortium of 20, 30 centers or so, all submitting their data to a common database and working together to answer questions, both prospectively and retrospectively, we might actually finally get somewhere with pulmonary embolism. I'll never forget, Jim Dallin was my chief of medicine when I was in med school, and he had written about the natural history of PE and so on, and famous New England Journal articles, but we haven't made much progress since then.
Amazing, isn't it? Yeah.
1969, it's like, so the bottom line is that we pulled together a consortium of hospitals. The first year we had a meeting, then instead of the 20 people that we thought would show up, we had 85 people and representing 40 or more medical centers. And since then, that was almost 3 years ago. We had a second annual meeting last year. We had 120 centers represented, or about 120 people in about 80 centers. And this year we have over 130 centers that are actually involved in some way with PERT. The PERT consortium became a 501c3.
Right.
And it's freestanding, separate, and it's owned by everybody in the consortium. There are something on the order of 40 to 45 paid members. We actually had a founding membership call, and institutions were willing to fork up. This is pretty impressive, actually. So we have nearly 40 institutions that forked up $10,000 apiece
Wow.
to become founding members of the PERT Consortium.
Wow.
So there's a lot of belief in this.
Yeah.
There's a lot
Absolutely.
of passion.
Oh yeah.
And I think that you said we've changed the paradigm. I don't know that we've quite changed it yet, but we have started to.
You will.
And it will.
You will.
And we have committees, so I would encourage anybody who's listening to this to give us a call or go to pertconsortium.org, pertconsortium.org, and get on the website, and which is currently being revamped. I'd love to talk to you about that.
Sure.
But it's being upgraded, and try to get involved in one of the multiple 5 or 6 odd committees that we have: a communications committee, a education committee, which has already done many things. In fact, we put on a PERT Consortium satellite session here at the SCAI annual meeting to talk about pulmonary embolism and pulmonary embolism teams, response teams, or PERTs. Actually, PERT, PERT has become a verb in the English language now. We PERT people.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's good.
Are you PERTing this patient or not?
That's great. That's great. Good.
Anyway, so we also have, in addition to education, communications committee, we have a research and publications committee, which is actively engaged in developing research opportunities, and we developed a very cool database that's about 350 elements that is open source. We have data sharing agreements that the head of that research committee, Chris Cabral, has worked out with almost 20 centers now. So we're now, as a pilot project, accumulating data from 20 centers on all of their PE patients. You can imagine the power of that.
Absolutely.
And so, and finally, we have a clinical practice and protocols committee, which is designed to develop new protocols and guidelines. You can imagine that the future PE guidelines will incorporate some of the work that we will do in the PERT Consortium. So we're excited about it. There's a meeting. This is important. There's a meeting, our 3rd annual meeting of the National PERT Consortium on the 22nd of June in Boston. And it's at the Sonesta Hotel on the river. Yeah. And I think we're going to have over 200 people there. I would expect. Great. We hope you're there. Yes. We want to get you guys there. Yeah. And we hope not only the BI is one of the founding members. You know that. Sure. And in addition to that, we hope that the Gibson TV affair is there. We want you guys there. And then the next 2 days, on the 23rd and 24th, is an annual meeting that is a CME meeting dedicated to pulmonary embolism. If you go to the consortium meeting, you get a very inexpensive entry for $95 to go to the CME meeting, which is a lot of credits. It's about 12 and a half credits. It's probably the best deal of the century. But the idea is to encourage engagement and encourage participation. So 22nd, 23rd, and 24th of June at the Sonesta Hotel in Boston. We hope people get engaged with the consortium. Right. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about this.
I really do think this is going to change care. Thanks for leading it. And thanks to all of you for joining us here live from SCAI 2017.